Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Quick Tip. I'm Chris, and I'm here with Mike. And today we'll be looking at how to set up and configure your cut settings in Ergosoft. So far, we've reviewed how to set up your files for cutting in Illustrator, and then how to set up your cut queue and cut environments for the very first time in Ergosoft. Now we're ready to configure the cut settings so that we can process print jobs and cut jobs. Mike, take it away.
Thank you. I'm going to import the new star image we created in Illustrator before, and then we need to turn on cutting. So next to our cut environment that we created before, we have a button called cut contouring. When I click this button, you see how it turns a little bit lighter as opposed to that. That means it's turned on. Uh, Also, you have your gray outline around your composer. That's an area that's reserved for cut marks. And in the bottom right, it says cut contouring. Contour cutting is on. Cut contouring um, is now enabled. Also, in the selection window down here, you have a preview of your cutting, but it's kind of small, right? It's not that large. So we actually have a workspace that's just for cutting and printing. It's right here under View, Workspace, Print and Cut. So you can click this. You can also press F4 if you would like, but this will bring you into a workspace that's more designed for cutting itself, and it gives you a bigger preview area. Um, as you can see, there's not really a line preview. There should be a red line around this showing us that it's going to be cut out. The reason there isn't one is because we haven't set up the cut path yet. That's what we're going to do right now. On our original image, under Replace Spot Color, you can see we have a spot color called cut path. That's what we named the path around our star. And it is case sensitive for Ergosoft. So this right now is a capital C and that's it. The path is not capitalized at all. So that's what we're going to use. So in our composer, we highlight our image, and then now we have job cut settings on the properties in action pane, and we can select a cut path. So we're going to click underneath cut path where it says none and hit plus, which creates a new one, and this little window pops up. This is where you actually add in that cut path name that I was showing you before. So you have to check path from image data because we're going to generate a path from the image data. And down here on spot color, we're going to type in that same name, just like it was before. So like I said, it is case sensitive. You could do the CMYK path up on the top here. If you were using a CMYK path, you could do that on the top. But since we're using a spot color, we're going to do this on the bottom here underneath the spot color section. And if you didn't notice already, there's a little checkbox here to not print that spot color. So that simply doesn't print the spot color in the artwork, so it doesn't interfere with the actual image itself. So that's always really great to have. That option is only for spot colors. That's why I recommend using them in particular. So I'm gonna hit OK, and then give it a little name. I will call this spot cut path, and then hit OK. Now we have our cut path is spot cut path. There's also cut settings. The cut settings, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to plus. In here, the options do change. It depends on your cutter. You might have pressure settings. You might have options for through cut, perforated cut, kiss cut, that kind of stuff. Those options would be here if they're available for your cutter. For the DXF cutter that we set up in the previous video, there are no options like that. So we're just going to leave this as standard. And we're going to call this just a default setting, right? So now we have our cut path and our cut settings all created. I am going to now make a combination. It's called a job cut setting preset. So I'm going to hit the plus up here next to where it says custom. And in here now it already selected it, but you can select a different cut path if you have multiple paths, or if you have multiple settings, you can select whichever settings you want. And hit OK, and now you can create a custom setting for that there. So we'll just call this, yeah, we'll do cut path, maybe cut path spot color, right? Just so we can differentiate them. So now we have this here. So for instance, if you had different settings, if you had one that was perforated cut and one that was through cut, you could create presets, and all you would have to do for your job is select the preset that you want and hit apply for whatever job you had. You could have 20 of them, right? But now, as you can see, do have a preview of our red star from which is generated from our star here. So for instance, if I duplicate it, now we have 4. Sorry, let me zoom that out a little bit. Now we have 4 stars and we have 4 stars. So that's basically it. That's how you create your, you have to create a cut path and your cut settings, combine those into your job cut setting preset, and then you can make as many as you want, all different options. That's it.
It's very nice, Mike. So to review, we would utilize the print and cut workspace, which gives us a bigger preview of the cut lines, certainly helpful for more complex cut files. And then once we set up the settings in the job cut settings in the job properties menu, that configuration doesn't need to be redone. Then it just becomes essentially a selection from a drop-down list.
Correct. And it will stay. So for instance, if you do, let me show you that. If you do a new job, I'm going to use the same image that I have, but you see now how it's still applied. You see how it still says cut path spot color. So until you change that, so you could change it to custom and then none if you don't want cutting. But if you don't want cutting, you would just turn it off, right? You would just disable it. So until you change your your cut path setting to a different setting, it'll stay, which is great if you're ripping 40 jobs and they're all the same cut path setting, you don't have to change it at all.
Set it and forget it. Very convenient. That's great. Well, very helpful as always, Mike. Thanks for watching, everyone. And please contact us if you have any questions.